afternoon. Yeah, bit of a film pickups video. Not done one of those in a while. Sorry, this is supposed to be Dog the Bounty Hunter. Doesn't look like it to me, but that's what it says. But that ain't Dog the Bounty Hunter. Yeah, a bit of a film pickups video. Wasn't really going to do this, but it's got a. I wasn't going to do this now, but it's got like a three. What's the word? Three. I've gone blank. Three reasons for doing this. There's a term. Don't know. Forgotten. It's gone. Forgotten. Forgotten what the term is. Yeah, three reasons for doing this. The first one, it's just to mention a pickups video, the actual video game pickups video that I filmed a few days ago, and it's sort of a bit of a warning. I don't know why you didn't want one, but it's just I filmed it and it ended up being nearly 50 minutes long. I don't know why, but for some reason I never like it when they're really long, but then most of mine are really long. So I just thought I feeling the need to warn people. Don't know why. But Jesus, my beard's looking, it goes outwards like that. Looking really bushy. Yeah, so I just wanted to give people a heads up that my next pickups video is nearly 50 minutes long. So I won't be insulted if you don't watch it. Or, if you want to watch it, you might have to watch it in instalments. So, or if you're for the hardcore, I might watch it all in one go. But either way, it's just a heads up. But my next video game pickups video is nearly 50 minutes long, and although the amount of stuff I've got, you wouldn't necessarily think it would be a 50-minute long video. It's not like I had a whacking great pile of stuff. It was literally sort of like that. And the third reason for this video, aside from the main shit to show, a theme, is that I went to the cinema a few nights ago and saw a very, very good film. It's not so much a review, but this is a recommendation of a film called Green Room. It's so good. I'll mention that at the end, but as it is, I'm going to get to these quick. Otherwise, this will be another 50-minute long video. Yeah. That ain't Dog the Bounty Hunter. Or is it? Or is it? No, it is. It is Dog Bounty Hunter. Bonus. Yeah, this is mostly mostly Blu-rays. Actually, a couple of DVDs and a CD. CD. I've had this knocking around for ages. I've shown it about multiple abortive attempts. Just a general pickups video. It's basically it's the soundtrack to the film Greenberg. I just wanted to mention it because it's really, really good. It's mostly the score. The original music's by James Murphy from LCD Sound System. It actually included an LCD Sound System single. This is post breakup, but it's an old Christmas song. And but otherwise, it's just it's James Murphy tunes score with a really nice selection of other tunes. Things like "Shot Down by the Sonics," who are, I could compare them to like the Black Keys if the Black Keys were around sort of 40 years earlier. They got to where the Black Keys are just 40 years before them. And a band called Galaxy 500, who I never really heard of, but they got a song called Strange, which, having listened to this, has become one of my favourite songs of all time. Just purely, it's such a good song. It's they're a bit like Echo and the Bunnymen, and they're from that sort of from the period sort of right at the end of the 80s. Echo and the Bunnymen, the Pixies, that sort of. Although you probably wouldn't necessarily put those two in the same bracket, would you? But either way, that's really good. And I got this from charity shop. I think it was £1. And it's one of my favourite films of recent times, and the soundtrack's just as good. Right. Three DVDs. The first one, you can sort of tie into that nostalgia video I did. It was sort of makes me slightly hypocritical. That whole thing about nostalgia, I'm a bit wary of it. It's a powerful thing, but no. I think at one point I made a point about um, not necessarily wanting to revisit things because it might sort of sully the memory I have of them if they don't really hold up. But I can remember watching this in the cinema. I haven't seen it since, and it's the Black Cauldron, by the way. If you can't read, I haven't seen it since. I've read the book, and yeah, I just remember. We went. It was a sort of a big family outing. I remember quite distinctly going to see this and enjoying it, but I don't really remember that much of it, other than I remember the story and I remember obviously what happens in the book. And so I don't think I'm not running the risk of it being poor. Although sort of Disney, you've got a you've got a good chance it's going to be quality really. This and Disney's don't often age, do they? You don't often see them and you go. You see something you've enjoyed as a kid, and then watching it again, and go, Jesus, that was disappointing. That's a lot worse than I remember, But I tell you what was like that for me, Mary Poppins. I used to love it as a kid. It's so boring. I don't know, it just bored me to tears. But I don't know, it's just irritating. It really annoyed me. But Eastbound and Down. I haven't seen this, but I've seen the first series. Although it says it's a series, complete second series, but it's got like 6 episodes. I think. Something like that. It's just, really? Yeah, but I've seen the first series and I really enjoyed it. I just really like his character. He's a scumbag, but somehow you root for him. But yeah, this was only £1. I just wanted to see. The what happens next, and Better Call Saul. I think sometime last year, finally got round to seeing Breaking Bad all the way through, and it's as good as it definitely lives up to the hype. It's amazing television, and made the better by Saul Goodman, the character, Bob Odenkirk. He's just brilliant. He's totally deserving of a spin-off. And this is I've not seen this, but it's supposed to be really good. I bought it. It's only £1, by the way, only £1, and it's not that old, so I think that was a great value. I bought it with somebody who'd obviously bought a load of quite current Blu-rays of recent television. They had Penny Dreadful and the first series of Fear the Walking Dead, all £1, and I bought all 3. I wasn't really sort of that bothered by Penny Dreadful, so I traded that in, and then I wanted to watch Fear the Walking Dead, but then it came up on it came available on Amazon Prime, so there's no point in me keeping the DVD, so I traded that in, and got myself some nice credit for other stuff that you've probably already seen in pickups videos. But yeah, so I've not actually watched this yet, but I might trade it in once I've watched it, because it's still worth some decent credit in Computer Exchange. But no, I watched Fear the Walking Dead and really enjoyed it. It's a different atmosphere to the main program, isn't it? It's more tense, not so much of a grind. It's more about sort of the tense situations, and but a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it, and I'm gonna have to unofficially watch the second series, because I've only seen the first series and the first episode of the second series, because that was free on BT Showcase, I think. Yeah. Right. These next 3 are all Blu-rays. They're Blu-ray upgrades of 3 really, really top quality films, all thrillers or sort of action thrillers of different degrees. First one, Hannah, by a guy called Joe Wright. It's got Saoirse Ronan in it, and you could compare it to Nikita or Leon. It's a sort of a modern sort of version, but a modern telling of that sort of story. She's raised by her father, because her father, played by Eric Bana, is some sort of a CIA agent, and he raises his daughter to be this. Sort of he raises her, with all these survival skills and sort of combat skills, so she can look after herself. Growing up, because he knows, being in the world that he is, that she's going to need these sorts of skills. And it's really, really good. And to make it even better, it's got a score by the Chemical Brothers. But I can highly recommend that. Like I said, this is an upgrade. It's only 99p. This was in a charity shop for $2.99. It's not an expensive Blu-ray, but I saw it in a charity shop for $2.99 for a long time. I don't want to pay $2.99 for it. I would like it, but I've seen it cheaper elsewhere. And then literally yesterday I saw it and it had gone down to 99p. So right, I'm having that. So highly recommend that if you like Leon, Nikita, that sort of story. So yeah, go for it. Another upgrade, another very cheap Blu-ray. You can get both of these, Hannah and Headhunters, in CEX for around about £1.50. This is what was actually from CEX. It was £1.50 as an upgrade. I had the Blu-ray the DVD for a long time. Never watched it, and finally got around to watching it. It's so good. I'm so glad I did. It's got Jamie Lannister in it. What's his name? Nicholas Coster-Waldau was his name. Yeah. Nikolai Coster-Waldau. Yeah, I think it's Norwegian. Although I've made the mistake of... I'm sure it's Norwegian. Joe Nesbo is Norwegian. What did he write? I can't remember. He's written something famous other than this, but this is you got this character here. Sorry, this character. He is the eponymous headhunter, so to speak, and he's like a corporate headhunter with a sideline in art theft, and he makes the mistake of stealing a painting by this guy, Jamie Lannister, and without knowing what this guy's involved in, he starts out offering him a job, or headhunting him, like in the sort of the normal sense, and then he offers him a job. But then it's all sort of like cover to steal one of his paintings, and he doesn't realise that the company that let's call him Jamie Lannister. I can't remember his name. I can't remember the character's name. But let's say the company that Jamie Lannister's working for is involved in all this sort of smart nanotechnology that it's all about tracking people, So. I won't say much more than that because I might give something away. But it's so far it's films like this that people's attitude towards films like this frustrate me, because if this was in English, it would be massive. It'd be a film that so many people watch. But because it's in Norwegian, it's maybe seen as a bit sort of sort of difficult and arty, but it's not at all. Just because you have to read subtitles, but it's really, really nicely staged action. Some cracking dialogue, looks great. It's got a nice sense of humour in it. There's one bit. It's almost like a homage to Footloose, the film, in a weird way. But yeah. So another one like Hannah, I can highly recommend. You might not necessarily have heard of Headhunters, and another upgrade, final upgrade, the Red Soul. Well, I don't really know. Do I need to say too much about the Raid? I prefer the first film, but this is just takes that sort of aesthetic and just runs with it and expands it and makes everything bigger, and it's obviously bigger budget, everything, and the film's longer. Maybe there's whereas in the first film there was less sort of exposition, less sort of storyline. In this there's more, so the film stretches out. But then to balance it out, you've got longer, more spectacular, maybe more intricate action set pieces, and they're all action set pieces that would quite happily sit as the sort of the culmination in any major Hollywood film. But the fact is that these are all just it sets the standard, really. These are all the standard action set pieces, you know, that pop up throughout the film, you know, from right beginning to end, and the standard is just really, really high. But yeah, highly recommend that. That, like I said, that was an upgrade. Amazon, I got it from Amazon. No, I didn't get it from Amazon. I got it from charity shop. I got it from Oxfam. Amazon had it for £2.99. Or was it £3? I can't remember. But I think I kept seeing this particular copy in a charity shop. There's no point in getting it for £2.99 if I can get it from Amazon for brand new. Then Amazon's price went up to £8. I'm like, piss off! I'm gonna have to go and get that one that I saw in the charity shop. So I did, and it was still there when I finally went to go and get it. Right, this one, I don't really. I've seen Sin City 2. It was only £1, and it's brand new. There you go. I thought I enjoyed the first one, and it's appealing in a quite a sort of superficial way. You know, it's obviously visually striking, and obviously has that sort of that extreme comic book appeal. But I think this just seemed, apparently I'd not really looked into this one so much. I mean, did it really? It almost feels slightly unnecessary, but it's by the same people, so I thought I saw it, and I thought, I can't really complain for £1 just to at least to try it. And I think I could sit down and watch it and then trade it in, and I'd get more than more than the outlay in credit. So it made perfect sense just to give it a crack. And it's got some of the same characters in it. Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney's not in it. Mickey Rourke's in it. Same character. But yeah, so I thought it seems sort of a bit stupid just to ignore it. And this one, it's a film I have seen. I really enjoyed it. It's Wes Anderson, Moonrise Kingdom. Another sort of brand new Blu-ray for £1 in a charity shop, which I don't really understand. Yeah, it's sort of typical whimsical, highly sort of constructed, very eccentric Wes Anderson world. Some of my favourite films are Wes Anderson films, like Fantastic Mr. Fox, and this has that same sort of Wes Anderson aesthetic to it, and I love it. It's such a good film. It's a nice antidote to action films. It's what was it? This kid goes to scout camp and then meets a girl and they go missing. They sort of go off on, I can't remember the actual storyline. I saw it a couple of years ago, but it's something I wanted to get on Blu-ray so I could watch it again. But yeah, Moonrise Kingdom for £1. That was probably the one that was sort of I was most keen to get, and to actually see it in the charity shop was a bit of a bonus. And these next two I bought as part of it was 3 for £20 in HMV. It was my mum's birthday back in sort of mid-April, and she really liked Fargo the television series and Fargo the film, so I thought I'd get her Fargo on Blu-ray, and I thought use it as an opportunity to buy a couple of films that I'd always wanted to see as part of a 3 for 2. And the first one, Interstellar. There you go. I don't know why I should have taken the price off by now, but I haven't. Yeah, Interstellar, which has been recommended to me. Reviews weren't brilliant, I don't think. I think reviews were sort of pretty, apart from, Telegraph, Empire and Sunday Mirror all go 5 stars. But the reviews I read, I don't necessarily read those. I don't read the Sunday Mirror. I don't really pay much heed to the Sunday Mirror when it comes to film reviews. But a friend of mine said it was really good, and sort of explained the storyline to me. So I thought I'll give it a crack. And we swapped Blu-rays. He recommended this to me, and I said it sounded like a film that I'd got. It was an old Werner Herzog film called the Blue Planet, the Blue Yonder, which he's still got. He's had it for about 2 years now. So if you're watching, which you won't be, if you are watching, Mike, I want my DVD back. Last time I saw him, you hadn't watched it, but so this is supposed to be the same sort of storyline, similar, but Yeah, so who doesn't know what Interstellar's about? I don't. And the other one was Inherent Vice by Paul Anderson. Not the crap Paul Anderson, the good Paul Anderson. P.T. Anderson, not W.S. Anderson, who's the crap version. I'll say crap, he just makes pretty cheap video game films, isn't he? But no. This is Paul W.S. Anderson, who made Magnolia, Boogie Nights, all that sort of stuff, Hard Eight. What else? Was it There Will Be Blood? Did he do that one? I think of someone else. But no, got Joaquin Phoenix as a private eye in the 70s, and I think he goes to look for a missing girl. I can't remember. But it's like this sort of stoner noir, 70s noir, and I think the idea is. My friend Mike tried to watch it and he said that he got lost, and I think that's pretty much the idea. It's one of these films you can't really necessarily expect to have all the answers. I think people require to, like, when they watch films, they want answers all the time. I think if you try and sort of switch off that idea that you must have answers to everything you're watching on film, then you might enjoy them more, because I think this is probably one of those films where you're just going to get lost by the end. I've watched plenty of films where you just get lost and go, what was that about? I'm not quite I'm not quite able to sort of deal with what I'm watching. So I think you just switch it off. And I think the whole idea is that he's a stoner, and so in the way that he gets a bit lost and confused in this case, I think as an audience, it's almost you mirror that. I think that's intentional, but it's supposed to, again, another one. It's supposed to be really good, and the reviews I've read and people were describing it to me, I thought, no, I've not actually watched it yet. But and finally, for my birthday, it was my birthday a couple of weeks ago, beginning of May. Obvious really. My mum bought me the light side version, the light side sleeve. I say version, it's just a sleeve, isn't it? Of Force Awakens. I've watched it and it's just as good as it was. I saw it twice in the cinema. But yeah, those are all my Blu-ray pickups. Right, what was I going to do now? Film review or recommendation, let's say. Green Room. Went to see it a couple of days ago, and I was tempted to do a video for it's just on its own, but no. It really blew me away. Actually, it had a good write up, and I thought that's something I'd like to see because it sounds original. So it's always something, originality is something that I sort of value when I go to see films, and it didn't disappoint. It's about a punk band in America who are essentially on like this sort of unofficial tour in their van. They're going from venue to venue, with this sort of rough itinerary of gigs, and they've got this this guy that they've been in contact with, that he's been sort of giving them, finding them gigs. And on one occasion, he lets them down because he explains one of his license was revoked because one of the gigs he set up involved certain things going on, and he had his license revoked by the state, so he could no longer offer them this gig. But then, as a last minute thing, his cousin was looking for a band, and so then they set up this last minute gig in this venue, which turns out to be, as the guy explains, turns out to be populated by neo-Nazis. Being a punk band, they sort of fit, but they just don't share the politics. The band don't share the politics. And he gives them prior warnings. He says, don't be too political, don't do certain things. And but he says, as long as you don't cross certain boundaries, you will be fine. Which is sort of, the film sets up really casually, sets up all of these ideas in your head. Just like that, for instance. He just goes, yeah, you'll be fine. And so they get to the gig, and it's quite a professional setup. From what they've been told, it feels quite relaxed and professional. All these people, you wouldn't necessarily know that if you didn't otherwise know, apart from the fact that a lot of them are skinheads, that what they were into. Apart from actually, there's certain insignias on the walls and stuff like that. But they play the gig. It's quite funny. It's the band are initially a bit sort of reticent, but at the same time, it feels sort of weirdly sort of foolhardy, or maybe naive, or they're trying to wind up the crowd because their first song is a song called "Nazi Punks Fuck Off." It's a cover of the Dead Kennedys, but the thing is, the crowd don't know that, do they? And they react badly, and but you have to sort of respect their balls, this band, for being in this room with a load of psychopaths and then starting off with that song. And it's actually, there's a version of it on YouTube. So if you type in Dead Kennedys Nazi Punks Fuck Off, there's a version of it. It's about a minute long, but it's a really, really good version. Actually, I don't know whether the actors did it themselves. It's got Anton Yelchin, who is he's Chekhov in the rebooted Star Trek films. But after the gig, everything's sort of fine and relaxed, and they go backstage to get their stuff, but the stuff's already out of the room. And one of the band members, the girl, has had her phone charging in the room. So I think it's Anton Yelchin, his character. He's sort of essentially the central character. It's his band, so he goes, "No, don't worry, I'll go and get your phone." So he just sort of casually walks back into the green room to find a situation that he shouldn't really be seeing. Essentially, it's a girl with a knife in her head. I mean, everyone knows that setup, so that's not a spoiler. They witness a murder. It's a girl with a knife in her head, and he goes, "Shit," and from that point on, things go bad. Patrick Stewart turns up. Patrick Stewart is terrifying. Patrick Stewart is just. He's so controlled and relaxed, and everything is very, very clinical. And that's what he brings this very slow, relaxed sort of menace to his role as, but essentially the boss. He owns the venue, but he runs everything else, so to speak. It's one of the most tense films you've ever seen, and it's just the fact it just hinges on that very, very sort of matter of fact. The fact that he goes into a room. He goes into a room to get a phone and then witnesses something, and then from that point on, the decision is made that by the people behind the scenes that this band can't be allowed to, to go back out into the world, so to speak, having seen what they've seen. And it's about them attempting to survive, and it's such a... It's done like a horror, but it has a sort of a non supernatural sort of setup. It's paced like a horror, but then it doesn't have the standard sort of jump scares. I mean, I jumped a couple of times, but the pacing's different in that sense. The rhythm's different in that the jump scares don't have the pause and then the screechy sound, and then everyone shits their pants, or the double bluff where they have the pause and the sound, and then you see it's something else, and then you realise it doesn't have that sort of thing. It doesn't have that sort of approach. But violent, incredibly violent, shockingly violent. But it's not that sort of cinematic, normal Hollywood cinematic violence where everything's really perfect. It's sort of imperfect. It's brutal. It's things like, for instance, no one gets a bullet right in the middle of the head. No one gets a scar along their cheek like that. It's things are a bit. It's as natural as you can get to that sort of situation, and all the while, there's no hidden menace. The menace is right there. You see the sort of the calculated approach by the antagonists, and then you see the panic induced by and the paranoia induced in the protagonists, and it just sort of builds and builds and builds and builds. And if anyone has an opportunity to go and see it, if it's still in the cinema, I can't imagine it being around that long, because it was only it was in a small cinema in my hometown, in a big multiplex, and it's not in any of the smaller cinemas. So if it's if it's in any cinema near you, I would get there, go and see it. It's brilliant. It's so good. I'm tempted to go and see it again. But yeah, Green Room. It's a good one. So yeah, that's it. I didn't want it to be 30 minutes, but anyway, at least it's not 50. Right, I'm gonna let you go. Thanks for watching. Yeah, keep an eye out for that mega pickups video. Like I said, it was just a bit of a warning because it's just a heads up, and I'll let you watch Dog the Bounty Hunter over my shoulder. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you later.